Listening Comprehension Task 9, made by me, Marcelinus Banyu Kawaspodo, from class 33 1B07 with the name of 33 220073. So this is today's agenda. First we have the introduction, and then part 1 completing the text, part 2 retelling, and then part 3 also retelling, and then closing. So this is the introduction. Good evening, Mr. Ranga. We're back again today with today's listening task. Now we're in task 9, and my name is Marcelinus Banu. And as usual, we have 3 parts for today. The first part is I have to listen to the audio and then completing the text. The second part is I have to listen and retell using the detail I found from the audio. And as for the third part, is the same with the second part. I have to retell using the detail I found from the audio. So let's start from the first part. So this is the part 1, the first part, completing the text. Number 1, wingsuits are not very new, are they? Well, no, but the modern ones are better than ever. Number 2, last October was the first ever wingsuit world championship in China. Number 3, you can buy a wingsuit for $600 to $2,000. Number 4, the water distiller is for places where it's hard to get clean drinking water. Number 5, to produce the water distiller properly, they still need help with investment to start producing the distiller properly. Number 6, the enable talk gloves were invented by some Ukrainian students to allow people with speech and hearing impairments to communicate with people who don't understand sign language. Continue. Number 7, the gloves use sensors to turn sign language into text and then into spoken language using smartphone. Number 8, James Cameron was part of a team which designed submarine capable of descending to lowest part of the sea, 10 kilometers down. Number 9, James Cameron was the first person to do a solo dive there, and he stayed for 3 hours, the longest time so far so deep under the sea. Number 10, MIT students have invented products that help people get the contents out of a coat of glass or a plastic bottle, and then what inside, hair gel or mustard or whatever, comes out really easily, and it saves hours of frustration trying to get stuff out of bottles. So that's all for the first part. For the part 1, now we'll continue to part 2. Part 2 I have to retell. The title of this part 2 is Puss in Boots. Let's start. Once upon a time, there was a poor miller who had 3 sons. Years went by and the millers died, leaving nothing but his mill, his donkey, and a cat. The eldest son gets the mill, the second son gets a donkey, and the youngest gets the cat. After each of the sons get their parts, they leave the younger son with the cat. The younger son complaining as he wants to kill the cat and make a mittens out of his fur. The cat listens but pretends not to listen to his master's complaint. Instead, he told his master to give him a pair of boots and a bag as he wants to show something to his master. The second son then used his last pennies ordering the finest pair of boots made just for the cat. Continue. The cat looked very gallant in his boots, and putting his bag around his neck, he held the strings of it in his 2 fore-paws and lay by a rabbit warren, which was home to a great many rabbits. He put bran and corn into his bag, and stretching as if he were dead, waited for some young rabbits, still not acquainted with the deceits of the world, to come and rummage in his bag for the bran and corn. Not long after he lay down, he had what he wanted. A rash and foolish young rabbit jumped into his bag, and Monsieur Puss immediately drew close the string and caught him. Proud of his prey, he went with it to the place and asked to speak with his Majesty. He was shown upstairs into the king's apartment, and having a conversation with the king, and gave the king the rabbit, saying that his master, Marquis of Carabas, which is the youngest son, command him to give it to the king. Um, Another time he went and hid himself among a cornfield, holding still his bag open, and when a brace of partridge ran into it, he drew the strings and so caught them both, and he presented it to the king. The king, in like manner, received the partridge with a great pleasure, and ordered him some money for drink. The cat continued for 2 or 3 months to bring presents to the king, always saying that they were from his master, the Marquis of Carabas, until one day he heard that the king was planning to drive in his carriage along the river bank, taking with him his daughter, the most beautiful princess in the world. Then the cat goes to his master and asks his master to do exactly as he told him, and he did what the cat told him to do. Then the cat made a plan as if his master, the Marquis of Carabas, is drowning, to draw attention from the king and his daughter, and the plan is success. And the plan is success. The king and his daughter's attention turned into the cat, and then he ordered his men to help and bring the Marquis back to land. The cat told the king that while his master was washing, there came by some rogues who went off with his clothes. He doesn't know the one who hid the Marquis's clothes was in fact the cat himself. Long story short, the king gave the Marquis one of his finest suits and asked him to ride along with him and his daughter. Then they have a bit of chit-chat with each other, and then asked the Marquis so they could go to the Marquis's castle. The Marquis don't know what to do. Then he asked the cat what to do since they don't have a castle. Then the cat told the king to wait for an hour, as he said that he wants to make the castle ready for him. Then the cat went to the ogre castle. As he finally meeting with the great ogre, he's saying something that makes them flee the castle. Finally, the Marquis and the king, as well as his daughter, they arrive at the castle, and the cat welcomed them inside the castle. They get inside and having a feast, and the king asked the Marquis to become his son-in-law, and married the princess the very same day. Puss became great lord, and never ran after mice anymore, except for pleasure. So that's all for part 2. Now let's continue to the part 3. So this is the title of this story called Bluebeard. So the story of Bluebeard can be summarized thus: a wealthy man had a blue beard which made him extremely ugly, so that woman ran away from him. It was known that he had been married several times before, but what had become of his wife nobody knew. Eventually Bluebeard managed to win the heart of one of his neighbor's daughter, and they were married, and she went to live in one of his father's houses. One day, Bluebeard told his wife that he had business to attend to do in the country, and would be gone for several days. He entrusted her with the key to all the various rooms in the house which contained his treasure. He told her that she was free to unlock any of those doors, with the exceptions of one: the door to a secret closet in the house, which she was forbidden to look inside. She agreed to his wishes and waved him off. It didn't take long for the young wife's curiosity to get the better of her, and she risked a peek in the forbidden chamber. After all, Bluebird would never find out that she had disobeyed him. She took the key to the closet and unlocked it, and found out that the floor was clogged with blood, and the bodies of that woman were kept in the chamber. So this is what had happened to all of Bluebeard's previous wives. In her shock and fright, the young wife dropped the key on the floor, and having recovered it, she locked the door to the chamber and went to return the key to its rightful place. Unfortunately, the key was now stained with blood. She set about wiping the blood from the key, but the blood returned. Every time she cleaned the key, the blood remained. She tells her sister to she tells her sister about the horrible secret that she has discovered, and they hatch a plan to flee the castle the following. But Bluebeard suddenly returns, discovers that the bloody key, and threatens to kill there and then, begging for one of last prayers before he and her sister are slaughtered. Bluebeard's wife buys himself enough time for her brothers to arrive and rescue her and her sister, killing Bluebeard. Bluebeard's wife has twice formally buried and inherits Bluebeard's castle. She eventually remarries and lives happily ever after. So that's all for the part 3. Um, Closing. So I think that's all for today's task. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your attention, and